Good morning, folks. How we doing? It is excuse me, it's 5:11 a.m. Tuesday, May 23rd, 2017. Bada boom, bada bing. I always do these timestamps because one of the three most important reasons I was here in this body having this life is to help you understand who you are, where you came from, and to help you wake up. When I say wake up, I mean become aware of who you actually are inside. Excuse me. The gift of lung disease. When you get two of them, it's twice as good. No, I don't smoke cigarettes. Anyway, excuse me. The noise in the background is the window AC unit. That's a hum that'll be with us. It's warm down here in Duluth, Georgia. Anyway, it was important for me to help you all that I could, do all I could for you, but also by showing you how I change as I keep becoming more and more aware. Excuse me, as I have better control of my abilities. Everyone has them. That you can learn a little more again about what it's like to become yourself. It's important that you have that. The only true wisdom you'll ever have is what comes from a collection of different understandings that you have arrived at through accessing data. It's the data of your life experiences, the six senses that you have. The sixth sense is your intuition. People say there's no such thing as a psychic. Well, if there is, a quote-unquote psychic would be someone who's learned how to use their metaphysical abilities. So, no, there's no such thing as a psychic, but there are metaphysical practitioners. Now, excuse me, we just removed the word psychic and put in metaphysical. What's metaphysical? Things that you can't physically understand. Okay? Some people want to find such a definitive answer, and where can I put every little possible decimal point? I understand that. When I was growing up, and this isn't the first life I've had like this, I was very strong in mathematics. Excuse me. And as time went on, though, that started falling away, as well as my ability to read without getting a little dizzy, and my ability to write. I'm so busy using my brain for metaphysical abilities, I can't do the other stuff too well. That's how I've changed. Now, most of you are not going to have much of an issue with that. My job while I was here in this body, excuse me, was to really push the limits on it. I'm just going to say excuse me one time for all the sniffling and coughing and everything. Like I said, my health's kind of rough, and It just is, like things are. They just are what they are, Right now they are changing. I often move around a lot from one thing to another when I'm talking. I say the word excuse me, a lot. When I first started becoming alive and using abilities, all your abilities, folks, you own them. They're not a gift that you have to wait to receive. You own them. They are part of you. The one gift you've received is when you release from the original first being, male and female. But as I became more awake and aware, I had other people saying, "Jay, I want to be your manager," so I could do stuff other people couldn't. The first thing they said is, you got to quit saying and you have to get out of those overalls. And it only happened a few times. People figured it out quick. But I'd look at him, first time it was her, and said, "Do you really think I should do that?" And I said, "Yep. That's what you're going to have to do. Said, listen to me, I'll teach you. I'll show you how to do this and that." And I said, "Do you really think that's the right way?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Good. You do it that way." I want to do au naturel, okay? I want to do things naturally, simply. So many people get lost in this strife for perfection. Why? Folks, there's no such thing. There is perfection in God. Okay, what's God? Honestly, what is God? It's something people tell you about that you can't talk to. Someone wrote a book about it. And it's perfect, all-knowing, all-loving, and all-forgiving. Yet you're not perfect. It made you. Oh, by the way, it's a he. It's not a it, right? We're told it's a father. There's no mother. That's because it's male-dominated society. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So it's perfect, all-loving, and all-forgiving. That's why it made hell to punish you forever when it's pissed at you. What? When something's perfect, all-loving, all-forgiving, and everything else, that's a whole lot to say, okay? Come on, think about what someone's saying right there. Number one. Number two, if something was worth your praise, why the hell would it want it? Number one. And then number two, why the hell would it allow it? Number one, it would say, look, I love you, I care about you. I'm no better than you. You're more important to me because I love you. And if you feel the same way towards me, that's incredible. It wouldn't say praise me. And then if you kept doing it, it would say stop. That's wrong. That's incorrect. Well, is that what your religions are based on? No. I'm not here to pick on the religions. I'm here to talk about what is. That's just about it for their religions. It might pop up again, but that's it. Your governments tell you that you have to pay. You're not allowed to try to send yourself home. Excuse me, by that I mean get out of the body. Of course, that's starting to change a little bit. There's some change coming. I'm not saying people should go around committing suicide. Folks, I am not saying that whatsoever. What I'm saying is that there's a very strong control in different aspects of your life that's been put on you. And don't blame your parents. Don't blame their parents, their parents, their parents. This started with the original first being. Where'd this God thing come from anyway? Anybody see? No. Once you've developed your abilities, you learn how to open up and accept what you see. Okay, that's kind of like putting you in a circle. As you awaken and learn how to trust yourself a little more, to understand that you're seeing something and then understand what you see, then you start awakening. I'm not a professional speaker, although I've given lectures, flown all around the U.S., not out of the country doing it. That would have been funny. The CIA would go nuts every time I got on a plane. They're aware I can go into people's brains and manipulate them to come alive. I can enhance them, not control them, not whatsoever. Somebody goes hurting an animal or a kid or something, I'll get in there and go for the physical control thing. Okay, that I'll do. I have no ability to control people. That's stupid. Nothing in a body ever should. There are some children coming that will be able to telekinetically move things through the field. How do things happen? There are some people that have quote-unquote telekinetically moved stuff and done stuff that's impossible. How did that happen? If you can see well enough, if you're awake enough, you can look at it, and the few times it's ever happened, you can see angel energy or even source energy. You know, you can see that actually involved doing it. Now, what is source? Okay, we talk about that. Source field and everything else. Oh, by the way, excuse me. I said I'd say it once, but I can't help it. It's a physical thing. It's rude. Excuse me. The original first being was the source of all sentient life here. It came. Where did it come from? What is it? Male and female. Where'd this come from? Energy. Where is it? What is it? Life, a soul. What's that? How does it get put in a body? This information, what I'm telling you, and a lot more, you'll find in 2 books I wrote for you. There's a third one I've just barely begun. I'll just get it started before this body finally quits and I get to go home. When you put into a body, it's like being locked into a car and they weld the door shut. You don't get to come out until the body rusts apart. Creation, the first book I wrote is Creation, its beginning and your origin, who we are and where we came from. Okay? And on the back of the first book it says, J. Essex was born. That's me, J. Essex. Actually, John David Essex. No big thing. I always go by nicknames, you know, just like Jay Better. And besides, I have a problem with people's names. Always have. I usually call women sweetie and guys big guy, just because I can't remember names. I've had issues with that. This brain was not made for me to do that. It was made for me to do something else on a larger, more important scale. Besides, if someone says something negative about me, fine, let them. Okay, if I'm telling you who you are, what's going on and everything, and that I do love all things. It's what I am. It's how my spirit was originally made. And as far as the spirit made to have lives, the female, myself and my female counterpart, the better part of me, we were the first. A lot of people, well, I've been called creation's a historian, and that fits. The very first life was what's inside this body was there, and the female part was my last life. The last body I was in for the last life for me to have was Gandhi. I died, and then 8 years later was born in this body. So it says I was born 7/27/1955 at 4:37 p.m. That's true. Now the book 2, this one here, purple one, says 2:37. There's a couple little typos I have to get out of the books, but that's about it. Every once in a while, I'll repeat something. It's like you don't have to say that. You already said it before. When I repeat something, it's relative to something else I'm telling you that's new. And I want you to have that information fresh in your mind to back it up. This book here, the first one, this was, both books are found, along with my other works, are found Amazon.com, Europe, whatever. Different people sell them individually. I'm not on the bestsellers list. That's not the intent. The intent is to give you information that is nowhere else. Period. But the first book, the editing was done by the head editor, the boss. I don't know what her title is down at Create Space. They do all the work for Amazon.com. Love my coffee. And she actually called me up, and she said that she edits books for a living, and that she's never run across this material. Never. She said, "This isn't anywhere," and I said, "Yeah, no. There's no whoopee J there. It's just, I know that's why I had to write the books. I'm not a writer. I mean, I'm an author because I've written a few books, but I'm not a writer. I'm not a public speaker or anything else. Like I said, people have called me creations historian because I see all this stuff. Well, that's just because I can go back through time past when I was created, and I'm standing at the intersection. I'm watching the cars go by. That's all. I've always called myself the janitor. I like that. I clean up the messes. I fix the broken doorknobs, tighten them up, empty a waste paper basket, give you a clean environment to be in. That's what I was made to do, and protect you. That's what I was made to do, and I've been so busy in and out of bodies having lives, and dealing with the original first being male and female, but and the rest of everything else out there that I haven't done a good job of what I was made to do, and I don't feel too good about that, but that's okay. That's just about at an end here. Excuse me 1 minute. We're back. Sorry, sniffles are kicking in hard. My coffee and my grapefruit juice. Cheers. Good stuff. Man, I love that. Anyway, so there's a little bit of info about that in the second book, but there's a lot more happening than I want to write about. In the second book, it's too much to fit on the pages, and what's inside this body is responsible for a lot of what's happened. You think about your bodies, what they are. Oh, before I forget, that information I put in here in the back with the bibliography, whatever, I guess people need to know who wrote the book, or the books, and I guess, honestly, a big part of this video is to give you that information. Not a detailed history about me, but just a little bit about me, of what I am, and where this information came from. Hey there, buddy, you doing okay? Little moth. Moth energy is like butterfly, but for the fae. It's softer, more relaxed. There's always things going on everywhere. The more you become awake and aware, the more you use your metaphysical abilities, the more you can see what's around you. The Anargens just popped into my head. When the original first being started coming together, it was in the first dimension. There was no sentient life anywhere. There was only energy. People say, no, there was always God. And then you say, okay, where'd evil come from? Oh, God was the first. He's forever. Where'd evil come from? Oh, I was talking earlier about this perfect, loving God that's so forgiving, and then yet it's not your parents. When you're a parent, you love your children. I hope. If not, if you don't love your children and care about them and take care of them, then you're not a good parent. You don't like that tough crap. I don't give a damn. It's a fact. But most parents are very loving and they care about their children. If you love your children, would you have them bow and get on their knees and praise you before they come in the house, and then once in the house do it again, and before they eat say, oh, thank you so much for giving me food to eat? You'd be looking at them like, damn, stop it, what's the matter? That's how a loving parent acts. No other way. People say, excuse me, religious people will often say, we are so stupid and God is so great and intelligent that we can't understand the meaning for what he does. You know, like, wow, really? I was involved in religion when I was a kid. I was told I was going to, whether I wanted to or not, and I was shown it was going to happen, so okay. When you're a little kid, you can't fight a big man. They're big to you then until you grow up, then that changes. Anyway, so I started understanding more about what was going on involved with religions. But see, the thing is, there's never been a God. There was the original first being, male and female. First there was the original first being. It came to be in the first dimension. 5 different energy fields coming together. The last one coming in was a form of electromagnetic energy. What's in these bodies? What goes through your brain? Excuse me. Your brain is like the seat, your house. 2 different spirits. Talk about a kundalini, 2 different snakes. Well, it's 2 separate spirits. About 40% of it, of your core energy, is the spirit that originally came from the planet about 11 and a quarter million years ago. And then the other average 60% is your personal spirit inside the body. But life can be confusing. Yeah, there's actually 2 people inside you. I have to cut this video short. There's so much I want to tell you. There's so much I have told you. My first YouTube channel was over 500 videos. The current one, I usually don't have much of a conscious mind, but my DNA's changed again here lately, and it's giving me a little bit of memory. The last time I looked, I think it was 386 videos is what I have right now. There's a lot of free information. These books, Creation, is beginning your origin. This is where you came from. This is how it all started. The first dimension, how the first being came to be. The Energens. Energens. What the hell's that? Beings that came from the same original first being while it was, you know, becoming more sentient. Some of the heavy particulate matter in the first dimension that actually makes something lower frequencies, which we consider more negative. excuse me, any frequency that actually exists is above zero, which means there's no such thing as negative. But we understand a certain way of perceiving things. Well, as your metaphysical abilities grow, you're seeing stuff that's energy. It doesn't have a body. You have to have a way to relate to it. That's why seeing is different. But folks, all this stuff is in the books, and then also the videos have incredible information. Excuse me. But it talks about them. They come in a body, sometimes having lives. The reason, the book, information about me in the back of the book, there's a lot of people that get it in astrology. Okay, if you look up, I tell you where I was born too, Long Island, 4:37 p.m. You plug that out, plug that into a good computer program, it'll tell you a lot about me. How does astrology know how someone's going to develop? It doesn't work like that. Someone is who they are. They're put into a body at a certain place in a certain time, so it matches a certain pattern. It's called the flow of life in the third dimension in creation. This is about the original first being. Okay, there's Fey beings, there's animal essence, there's human essence, there's Fey essence, there's plant essence, and then there's universal essence. Okay, universal essence, the male spirit is literally in stars, the female is in planets. Now, wow, there's so much there. I can touch on a topic, and then in my mind it just opens up and explodes, goes everywhere. Excuse me, and I want to reach out, start talking about it. I can't. That's weeks of work. That's why I had to write these books, get as much as I could to you. So you want it? You want to know who you are, where you came from? Bingo. Now, there's soul is the prevalent form of spirit that's everywhere. Okay, it all started with the original first being, and it broke out two huge pieces of cleaned source spirit, complete source spirit, but minus a lot of negativity. Then it set it just set that aside and pulled it into two different large pieces. One piece that, like, just think of one piece at the top, and then a bigger piece at the bottom. The piece at the bottom has more fortitude and stronger heart. That's the way they made it. And they took out 97% of their own negativity. The original first being was literally 27.5% lower frequencies, or what we call negativity. And, excuse me, and so it removed that, and it understood in that beginning part of its life, existence is sentient energy. Spirit is sentient energy. That's the difference between spirit and energy. It's energy that's evolved to become sentient. Okay, and that happens within the first dimension. And then once it is sentient, excuse me, it's literally excuse me, it's literally it literally comes out and then starts running around. But anyway, 1 minute. Okay, so anyway, so it comes alive there, then it comes out. Of course, our original first being, what we came from, there's only been one. There's 4 new ones in the first dimension, but there's only been one. It was alone, scared. You know, we got lonely, and that all came from fear. Emotions are based on fear, all of them. Now there's feelings that your heart produces. By grabbing the emotions from your base chakra and your thought process data from your brain, the heart pulls it together and sends out that feeling. I don't think I'm the first one to say that, but that is how it works. No, I'm not the first one to say that. Someone else out there. Anyway, who cares? Doesn't matter who's first. It matters that this happens. I forgot what I was saying earlier. I do this all the time. That's why the books, it's written down. Let me interject real quick. The head editor from CreateSpace, I mentioned her earlier when she did the book. She called me up. excuse me, she said that she likes to keep the paragraphs longer. Then I made them short, but I had to. Folks, these books, they're like textbooks, but they're written by me, a simple old man in overalls, okay, who's not an author, who's not a writer. Author, yes; writer, no. And she said that she had to keep the paragraphs short, because this information isn't anywhere. It's new, and people, you have to break. She said if she didn't keep the paragraphs shorter, that, and they seem long to me, but whatever. She said if she didn't keep them shorter, there's no way people could follow it. But that's also why sometimes I repeat something, is so that you is so that you have the backup of information to help you look at something new I just said. Anyway, that might get taken out of it later with a couple small typos, whatever. The original ones are important to have. And there won't be anything wrong with the new another edition where the typos are taken out. They were written like this for a reason, and I wrote them. I see the stuff, I look at it, I explain it in a very simple way. Who are you? Where'd you come from? What's going on? How come life is like this? Why does life occur the way it does? It's all right. It's all right here, first book. When you have this information, it's data. It's data from the brain. It gets pulled into the heart. You start to understand it. You just start taking the data. You compare it with what exists, what you see existing everywhere, and what your life is, and what it's been like. And then guess what? It starts making sense. You start to understand it, folks. This information is nowhere. There's when I was talking about those two large pieces of clean source energy, this is how I jump around. This is why it was so hard to write these books, and I was fighting stuff on the other side while I did it. That you'll find out more about that later. Anyway, the very bottom where that strong heart and the strong fortitude is, that's where I came. They split in male and female. The original first being from loneliness split itself into two different separate pieces. They had to be different enough. It was itself, and it split into two different pieces to have company. But in order to have company, you can't be two pieces of the same. You can't really be much of a clone. You have to literally have differences. So it did, and it made a little format in its own energy to make sure that it wouldn't reverse and go back and it'd lose its company. That's why you have male and female. That's where it came from. Folks, there's so much information in these books that there's nothing out there that has this in it. That's why I had to write it. It was important for me to write. They were important for me to write. They're important to you if you want to wake up and understand what's going on. You don't have to buy those books and read them. You don't have to absorb that knowledge to make your life better, easier, and enhance your ability to understand what's going on and why. Even our friends in space. There's more stuff happening there I need to bring about, but we'll do that in a little bit. Anyway, back to the original first being. Darn it, that is the source of life on this planet, and that is the source of life throughout creation, except for the first dimension where there's 4 new beings growing. Now, so it took its a large part of its energy, cleaned it up. There's a lot more here. That's what they call the Angelus for all that stuff. The information's right there in the book. I explained where everything came from, why it was made like that, why it happened like that, and how that brings you to where you are today. Book number 2. Same thing. The new beings, spirit beings, people that were made after everything started the first time, that's in book 2. The fight going on the other side, how everything worked together, fought together. Never been an angel war. There was something else going on. Excuse me. Just recently there was, you can call it a war, a continuing battle, but it's all but, it's over now. There's just cleanup going on the other side, second dimension. Third dimension, second, and then first you'll never find. That's hidden and kept away from everyone for good reason. Nothing's allowed in, nothing's allowed out. That's the birthplace of the original first beings. Only one thing goes in there, and then when they're ready, they come out. Anyway, excuse me, like I said, there's only one of us. So the original first being did that, separating those two parts. They cleaned its energy to make it weak, took out 97% of its lower frequencies, and then Arae and Lily came from the inside of from the strongest piece. Arae came from the strongest piece of what they call Aramalius, the larger the male parts of this clean source spirit, and then Lily came from the heart of the female part of the strongest one of these clean source beings. And then after that was done, then you had these other fields of spirit, essence. So you have source that's complete, the original first being, and then you have sources cleaned, and then you have the 5 new basic themes, types, frequencies, sets of frequencies were pulled out of source, separated from it, to create the animal, human, fae, plant, and universal. Universal stars have male universal essence, and planets have female universal essence. Loving planet energy. Hello. It just makes sense. The energy frequencies were made to go in that direction because that's where they need to be. A loving planet, giving energy, to help everything. The original first being male and female, very aggressive. That comes from having 27.5% lower frequencies or negativity, but it also comes from being lonely. Never wanted to be lonely again, and then early on putting things in body, having lives, it decided it wanted praise and more. That's a sad part of the beginning of the sadness of creation. Creation's history, what it is today, but it's changing. The whole format for creation has already been altered. Anyway, so then Essence went out and had lives. First there was Lily and Arae. The very first life ever had, I remember it. My better half and I. And the second life, after what was done to us, the first life, the second life, we made different bodies. We were ready for what we were about to be put through. And we rocked. That was the birth of the Drak race. So, like I said, I have a lot of memories. I'm very awake and aware. I've been going into people's brains, the bodies, for years. I've quote-unquote cranked up thousands of people. Because of what I am inside, I'm able to do these things when I'm stuck in a body. I'm no different than the rest of you. I'm no better than nothing else. It's just the energy inside is not just source, it's the oldest source that's ever had a life. I've had 10.846 trillion lives. When we're in a body, folks, It's rough. You have no idea what it's like when you're out of body. If you could feel that, you probably wouldn't want to be in a body anymore. These bodies were made to keep you from seeing that. This energy work I've done, cranking people up, taking my source energy and put it inside of you. And you know, these are over. There's only a couple left I haven't done, and then I'm doing work with a scientist in Spain to prove that I can change people's DNA, that it can be changed. And there's no whoopee-doo-jay. All this is about is people understanding the metaphysical world and themselves as being strong metaphysical beings. What do you call a mother's intuition? Excuse me, what do you call a mother's intuition? What's a mother's intuition? That's what people say. It's not psychic. Well, no, there is nothing as, there is no psychic, but there is metaphysical. And everyone has it. And if you don't have it, it's because you haven't woken it up yet, and you do have it anyway. If you think you don't have it, it's because you're not aware of it and using it yet. Awareness, awakening to who you are, becoming aware of who you are. That's a biggie. So anyway, excuse me, I'm jumping around again. Let's go back to the forms of spirit again. You have the original first being, and then you have the two clean pieces of large pieces of a clean source, higher frequency source. Then you have the little lily and arrow that were pulled out to go in bodies and have lives. Arae was made to be a protector. He was made he was the strongest part of Arae, and Arae was the male part of that huge clean source spirit that had excuse me, so much heart, frequencies of love, but yet incredibly powerful fortitude. And they made him like that to grow him, make him bigger, stronger, and he would protect them from anything else that came out of the first dimension. They weren't stupid. They knew something came out of there. But when I say that's the first being, when I say them, I'm talking about the first being, male and female. It was originally the first being, and it split itself, as I mentioned earlier, into two different beings. That was two slightly different beings. Male and female. Anyway, birth of male and female, creation of male and female, whatever. Also coming off now, the different fields of essence that came out there: human essence, fey essence, animal essence, plant essence. That it was all coming together in the third dimension, where they started having lives. First planet to ever have life on it, Gaia. That's where the stone Essonite and star Essonite comes from. Essonite and it's also Gaironite. It's a stone that literally came from her, and it's almost completely her energy, her spirit inside, which it's got her energy. It's so much to explain. Again, that's why I have the books and all these videos. But anyway, after the original first being, male and female, had taken these different forms of essence, put them in bodies, excuse me, giving them lives. Of course, Lily and Arae were going at it, and first they had over 100 million lives together before anything else did, and then the animals came in for another 200 million plus lives, and then the other essence came in to have lives. And those of you have had consultations with that essence, you've had more than a trillion lives. Almost every single one of you. That was, wait a minute, over a trillion lives before the first souls were released. And then you've had more since. So, and then once they understood enough about having lives, they could finesse it enough and understood enough about it where they could then release soul energy. Soul spirit is different sections of essence. There's only you can say there's 2 or 3 different types of soul. There's human soul, there's fey soul, but human and fey are so close that almost all soul has got a little fey or a little human. When it's over 10%, of having the other in it is called famine. So, there's fey, human, and famine. Excuse me. So then some of them have a little more heart, a little of this, different frequencies. We're all unique individuals, and nothing is more important or better than anything else. When something is being abusive and it won't stop, it's deleted. That's what's been starting to happen for a while, and it's going to go full tilt here in just a little bit. If it does the wrong thing, you stop it. Doesn't understand, help it understand. If it won't understand, doesn't care, wants to keep going, it's being deleted. Energy can be destroyed. The only way it can happen is by one thing out of body, period. Anyway, I know I have to get going, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. I had to write these books, and I had to write them for you. It's the birth of your freedom from the worthless thought construct that everyone has been forced to live within. All this crap you've been told about yourself and religions, you're sinners, Christianity, like, what? I just, my little baby's a sinner, it just was born. What are you talking about? My baby's 2 weeks old. What do you mean it's a sinner? It's insanity. You want insanity? Listen to a religion or a government. We're here to help you. Empty your pockets. Give us your money. What? Now live the way we tell you to. What? There has to be some type of control about something not beating up something else. But other than that, you have to have freedom to be who you are, to learn how to express, understand, and feel yourself. What do I mean by feel yourself? As you do something, you begin to understand how you feel about it yourself. You do something and it's like, damn, that's not too cool. I don't want to do that again. That's feeling your frequencies inside. Anyway, I can only get so much out, but that's important to all of you. Much more important than you understand until you started accessing the information. And then it's like so many people have told me, said, hey, I've never heard any of that stuff, but once I got through the book, before I even got there, but once I got through with the book and stopped and relaxed, and you start to absorb it, and it's funny. It just makes sense. It helps me understand why life is the way it is. I understand why life is the way it is. Don't stop living, but understand what's going on around you, who you really are, what you can do about it that you weren't aware of, and why things are changing. It's because it's necessary that they do. It's time for you to stop having lives the way you've had them. It's like a few people have said a long time ago. That's funny, Jay. This information, it's once you have the base information, just under book number 1. Once you've read this, all the triangular pegs just softly slide into the triangular holes, square pegs, square holes, etc. It helps you understand who you are. And as your abilities grow and you awaken, which is going to be really strong on this planet for the next 100 years. 100 years from now, there'll be 40% of the planet's population will be awake and aware. That's fast. That's a big move. Then that's when you can see so much for yourself, but that's when this information, all this stuff, is going to come in. That's M66, by the way. That's the home of the clean source on the other side. Animal Essence lives here too. In the second dimension, that's 1.5 feet to your right, 3 foot up. A lot of psychics have talked about the silver cord they've seen, and a lot of people have seen this. Silver cord coming out of their body goes up and to the right a little bit like this. They say it goes about 2 to 2.5 feet and it disappears. I'm like, okay, 1.5 feet to the right, 3 foot up, take a hypotenuse. Whatever, hypotenuse, get the other base length, whatever it is, I can't remember. Anyway, I think you use the hypotenuse to find it. Anyway, whatever. My brain doesn't think like that anymore, and I'm almost done having to use this brain. I'm really happy about that. Folks, love you. The war that went on the other side was from going on with the angels, the new animals, all this stuff, right here. Okay. Lemuria, on this planet especially, Lemuria. How did the Earth get colonized? Where'd they come from? Magic? Greek mythology, the animals that are the half animal, half human creations, were they real? If so, where'd they go? What happened? Why? Who did it? What came first, chicken or the egg? There is so much information in those 2 books, and you will never find them anywhere else until other people see it, feel it, absorb it, and start telling you more. But you know what? Those 2 books and the 3rd book that's coming out, Creation, Walking Through the Door, that's you becoming yourself. That's about creation becoming what it should have been. And I'm not going to be in this body. I'm going home and I'm going to start working on that. So, but the history of Lemuria, Atlantis is not under Antarctica. It's in the Atlantic Ocean. It literally embedded itself into the floor when it sank. Lemuria was in the Pacific. It was populated first. There's other planets came here. People from other planets. Yeah, the planets came to have a picnic. No, folks from the other planets came down here to colonize because the Earth is so beautiful, despite what's been done to it. The original first being male and female used their servants, the angels, the original first ones, that is, not the ones that came from Lily and Arae. They used them to run you, take their energy, go right inside your upper crown, middle crown, and then through again the lower crown and right into the hypothalamus, and literally make you do whatever they wanted you to. And guess what? You knew that's what had to happen. And you do stuff that's stupid, that's wrong, maybe even malicious, vicious, and then they pull their energy out, and then you're like, what the hell did I do that for? It wasn't you. It was not you. There are so many things about life you don't understand. Hey, you want to know? Read this. First book. First book's easy. They say it's 134 pages or something. The last page, it's like 118, but they include all the other Roman numeral stuff. The second book, there's a lot going on in there. They'll teach you how to talk to stone, how to deal with people who want to give you a hard time about being awake, using your metaphysical abilities. And as far as teaching stone, I can teach you very easily, and I'll just show you. And it's natural. This is a natural thing. You don't have to learn it. You just have to learn how to relax and release it. Okay? It's not magic. It's already in you. Hold 5 stones in your hand, different stones, and talk to each one of them. What are you doing? You're talking to the spirit of the planet that the stone came from, or the star, like star Essenite. That's why star Essenite is so powerful. Strongest stone there is. Chapter 3 in this book, Lily and Arae create the new source spirit. Section 3, the abuse frequencies. That was the cancer of creation. Okay. Well, I don't know. You can say the cancer of creation started with the original first being that made itself male and female, but then again, it was unintentionally there was nothing there to make it or keep it from happening with the original first being. But loneliness was their cancer. Folks, when you understand what's happened and why, it brings you to a new level of understanding. It allows you to really start becoming who the hell you are. Your life is going to change. Your life is going to change. And you're about to have a lot of help in that. But anyway, Lemuria was the first planet. Folks came here from other planets. I told you about the mythological creatures. They did exist. They are somewhere else. Why they were here, what's going on. The Adam and Eve, what's that about? 5 Adams, 5 Eves. Do we evolve from gorillas and stuff? No. Have we had a lot of physical body DNA manipulation and stuff? Yes. Lemuria and Atlantis, where they come from, different planets, plus the Adamic race was brought there, the different ages of life on this planet, plus the timeline. This is book number 2 we're talking about here. There was 5 Adams and Eves. Did you know that, well anyway, whatever. There's so much stuff. Percentages of the lower frequencies and all the different spirit beings. First age on this planet, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and now we're in the 6th age. First age was 10.572 million years ago to 8.3 million years ago. Second age, 5.2 to 4.3. I can't recall. I have next to no memory. I can't go in and out of stuff like that. It does. What I am is too absorbed in what it's doing. Is too locked into what it's doing. I can't just move around, and I haven't been able to astral project a long time because I'm stationary, and I'm not going to go there right now. Sometimes when you listen to what I say, it's like, oh, this guy is really big on himself. No, I'm not. I am what I am, and I don't cut anyone any slack on that. Things are what they are. An elephant, a giraffe, a horse, a porcupine, a bear, a wolf, a shoe. Everything's different. Whatever. There's a reason for what exists and what is. But no living being is any better than any other living being. We're different. We can do different things better than each other, but we are not worth more than anything else that's alive. There has to be a foundation for life to exist on. And once you have that, you can maintain everyone's individual right to be left alone as long as they're not hurting anyone else. That's how everything moves forward. Anyway, again, so much to say in no time. Folks, you want to know what's going on, where you came from and everything else, buy the books. There's so many places you're going to find it. Eventually, people are going to see and understand this and talk more about it. Even our friends in space, there's a whole lot they just can do that we can't yet. They're taught to use, they not only accept, but they're taught to use their metaphysical abilities when they're 6 years old, as far as their lives being relative to ours in time sequencing. But we have certain abilities because of our DNA, our ability to, extrapolate. Others will extrapolate DNA from other races and put it into us. That's been done by ETs. There was not one Adam and Eve. There were 5 that had been here 5 different times. For the first time, and then the next 4 ages that came after the first. So the first 5 ages, every one of them was started with the 5 Adams and Eves coming. what happened in the change of each age, the antids that were here. Antids, mantids. There's two different types of beings that are, one are very much like a mantis, praying mantis, and the other ones are like an ant and a mantis. I call them antids. Your past lives that you've had. Believe it or not, Hawaii is and technically still was and technically still is the capital of Lemuria, and New Zealand was the southernmost point. And there's so much to tell you. Anyway, that's why I had to write the books. And the books, even though I jump around a little bit, I have to because of the amount of information. I'm trying to, everything I see, I'm trying to grab what's important, figure out what's more important, and there's a whole lot of you. So I'm trying to give you the best of what I can find and the most of that. So that's why the books had to be written to put the basic information together. And I say basic, there's a lot to it. The timeline for what really happened here, what happened in creation, who you are inside. That's what matters. But anyway, I've been going into people, manipulating the brains and everything for a long time. I've proved it with quantitative electroencephalograms, going into people's brains when they're in other countries. This DNA thing will be the last thing I need to do. And there's no whoopie-doo-jay anywhere. I am what I am. I'm here for a reason. And I'm just about gone. Can't wait. But in the meantime, you had to have these books. I wrote them. I wrote them the way I did for a reason. In a way, I'm not me and you're not you. You're much more than what you think you are. You're two spirit beings in a body. That's the Kundalini thing. Two snakes going up through the body. 40% that represents the two beings in a body. 40% of your core spirit, the dual spirit core, energy core, spirit core, spirit being sentient energy. Two different individuals within a body. Some of them get along better than others. That's going to change where you only have yourself in there. Things are changing. You want to know what's going on, who you are, where everything, how it started, what came first, chicken or the egg. Simple as breathing air. Well, for you, breathing air for me is hard. It's all in those books. That's why I wrote them. You want to wake up, you want your children to wake up, you want to understand what's going on. Time to access data. There's your data bank. So, anyway, folks, look, love you, man. Have fun. You do whatever you want to do. Things are going to be made to get better and better and better. Okay, you don't have to do anything, but change is coming. Just as the waves continually roll up and change the surface of the beach, this is happening on a grander scale throughout creation. And your children are going to be waking up big time. Like I said, there's not even 4% of the population of this planet right now is awake or awakening, getting stronger. 100 years from now, it'll be a little over 40%. So, what do you want to do for yourself? What do you want to do for your children, the folks you love, anyone you want to teach? That's your only source for the information. There's other people talking about it because they understand. I've been with them a while. Good. They're incredibly awesome people. They're here for a reason. They're here to help you. Like I said, this is not about me. This is about everyone else, everything else. There's a lot of cool people here that are very strong, can crank you up. Well, it's not a lot, but it's about 20 right now that can do it. There's source inside. So anyway, there's other DVDs, and the rune cards help you talk with your spirit guides, and there's a book you can buy that explains how to what the basic meaning of the cards are. On this thing, Jara, that's me. J. It's like I call myself J. Arae Essex. Why? I'm J. Essex, but Arae's what's inside me. It's in between the J and the Essex. I always just try to find the simplest way to perceive something. Why not? If you knew how much there was to understand, you'd probably go the same route. Anyway, folks, love you, man. Have a good one. There's a lot of stuff coming your way. So, those people that learning, finding out, becoming awake and aware is really cool. It's a lot of fun. It's exciting. It's a rush, especially in the beginning. Then it becomes natural, because it is. It's a natural part of you. But you have to have the data so that you can consume it and allow it to become understanding. The more things you understand, the more understandings you have, the greater your wisdom. Simple as an old man in overalls. Anyway, folks, love you, man. Have a good